All right, hello and welcome. You've reached the Diamond Report Live. Glad you guys made it. Just saying hello to everyone in chat. Got a good crowd here tonight. This is your host, Doug Diamond. We are in for another crazy week of reporting the news, just like always. So it's really just a normal week, I suppose, around here anyway. It is 10:07 p.m. on December the 8th, 2024. 2024 is coming to a close very abruptly. And I hope you guys have had a good week so far, and that this next week coming up will be as well. We will see. As I mentioned at the end of the show last week, I hope we don't have a nuclear holocaust, and we did not have a nuclear holocaust, luckily. However, things have ramped up considerably in the war front scenario, and the war front is expanding. Syria is now the story, and we will get into that in this show. And just wanted to mention on the John Bound report that we just watched, you might have seen Peter Hotez. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's the new Fauci. He's not in the same position, but he is in the mainstream media where in place of where Fauci was. So he's the new go-to guy that you will see in the mainstream media. And he kind of reminds me of Beaker from the Muppets. You remember him? He's sort of like him. He's a total whack job nerd. And if you listen closely, he mentioned that January 21st, we will start seeing all of these show up just in time for Donald Trump's inauguration. So look for that. I don't think he is just making things up. I think he's actually, just like Fauci said back in 2017, that Trump's administration, Trump's term would see some new pandemic arise, and that's exactly what happened during 2020. So I sort of think Hotez probably does know what he's talking about, unfortunately, and they're going to try it again. We keep saying that, and they haven't yet. They backed off every time, but I don't know. I think that with him back in there again, if he makes it to inauguration, then that's a definite possibility. So anyway, so let's take a look at the news. We talked about Syria. I mentioned that just briefly. Israel has begun attacking and destroying Syria. Yet again, Israel is at war with everyone around them in further expansion of the Greater Israel Project. We've mentioned that on the show multiple times, the Greater Israel, that they all have sewn onto their patches on their arms, some of the IDF people and others, I suppose. But the Greater Israel, they want to expand Israel and take over multiple countries. Syria, of course, is a huge part of that. So yeah, they're bombing them. How about that? With the fall of President Assad of Syria, Israel is now exploiting the absence of a functioning government to attack and destroy Syria. And then Hal Turner's been reporting on this quite a bit on his radio show and on his website, HalTurnerRadioshow.com. Israel is destroying Syrian air bases, military bases, defense systems, intelligence facilities, and government structures. Basically, they're bombing Syria back into the Stone Age. Intelligence center burning right here in this picture. This air base in Damascus being lit up. And then another one here. So Syria's no functioning government. Assad has moved on. He has resigned, actually. Syria has no functioning government, no operating army. Instead of leaving it alone, why would they do that? It is the Greater Israel Project, right? Israel is attacking all over the country, which is factually defenseless. This is the true nature of the Israeli, I would say the Zionists in charge too, in particular. This is a quote: "Starting tonight, the main front of the fighting will move to Syria. We will start fighting on the Syrian front and will not allow anyone to reach our borders," end quote. The statement by IDF chief Herzi Halevi, followed by a series of Israeli airstrikes on Syria. So that is one of the articles posted today on Hal's site, as this one, update for the third time. He's been updating this. This is kind of a longer article here. Earlier today, Syrian President Assad resigns, has left the country, and yeah, he is now officially in Moscow under the protection of Putin and company. And of course, that is what this is all really about. This is Israel and the U.S. and NATO going after, poking the bear, prodding Putin to do something. That's what this is about. Make no mistake. this whole Syrian thing is about getting him to do something and to react. Will he do that? I don't know. Will he do anything? I don't know. He hasn't yet, but they're trying to push him into a corner as quick as possible, and now taking out Syria is just the next step in the process. Russian Foreign Ministry announced that Assad has stepped down as Syria's president and left the country after issuing instructions for a peaceful transition. Moscow stated it was not involved in the negotiations leading to his decision and called on all parties in Syria to avoid violence and pursue a political resolution. Yes, but you're dealing with Israel here, and Israel's flunkies, meaning the jihadis. And I don't think the jihadis are all about peace and love and understanding, do you? Russia confirmed its military bases in Syria are on high alert but reported no immediate threats. This comes after the terrorist organization known as HTS took up arms and began attacking major cities in Syria, which of course they are funded and backed by the West and Israel. So, yeah. So the jihadis are running the show over there, and they're going to put them in charge. And guess who's going to give Israel all at once, because they're on the payroll of Israel? The jihadis. So going back to the Greater Israel Project, they will hand it over, and Israel will get the extra land. They've already taken, apparently, Golan, the Golan Heights area. So yeah, they are definitely expanding their Israel front here. So who's actually to blame? Just days ago, HTS began its assault in Syria. A particular incident took place that signaled who precisely is behind this entire debacle. And I would mention that this picture below has a little bit of blood in it, so my apologies if it makes you woozy or anything, but just close your eyes if you need to. It's not particularly gross. It's just a guy holding a phone who has probably picked it up from someone who was holding it. Cell phones, walkie-talkies, and pocket pagers of the Syrian Arab Army, the SAA, began exploding throughout Syria. The SAA was thus hobbled at the very critical start of these HTS operations. And who was it that did that just a few months ago, a couple months back, in Lebanon? Who did that? It was the Israelis, wasn't it? So you can see exploding phones and pagers. They are, the telltale sign that it's the Israelis who are behind this stuff. The SAA is the legitimate, duly constituted standing army of the country of Syria. So when their cell phones, walkie-talkies, and pocket pagers began exploding, it tipped the hand of those who are actually behind this affair, and that would be Israel. Readers will recall that Israel perpetrated the same action against Hezbollah in Lebanon at the start of the Israeli incursion into that country, with so many pocket pagers, cell phones, and walkie-talkies exploding that literally thousands of Hezbollah forces were crippled or killed. So Israel is directly involved with the terror group HTS, as evidenced by the explosions that struck the Syrian Arab Army. So it says, now follow this chain. HTS was part of ISIS, which was sometimes called ISIL. You might remember old Barack Insane Obama always called them ISIL. Remember? The map below shows ISIL at its peak dominance in 2015 throughout the Middle East. So we always called them ISIL. So that is kind of where it's starting here. What was the one country in the Middle East that ISIS never attacked? Well, that would be Israel. In fact, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was actually photographed visiting an ISIS fighter being treated in an Israeli hospital. An ISIS fighter being treated in an Israeli hospital. There he is, shaking his hand, if you doubt me. Anyway, it goes on and on. There's lots and lots of further information. I know you guys know that, but there's further evidence here on Hal's website and in many other places, actually. But it's talking about the connection between Israel and all of these jihadis. They like their jihadis. They hire them, they fund them, they back them, and they wind them up, just like a wind-up toy. And they send them out to do their bidding. So Hal's saying Iran is next. I would totally agree. I think that's probably the next thing that's going to happen. You know, and it remains to be seen how far Iran would go in this situation, but watch for some sort of attack or something on Iran next. Because again, they're really, I think ultimately their goal here is Putin and Russia, but Iran is another ally here in that area. So it would not surprise me one bit if Iran is next on the list of who to be attacked by Israel. So anyway, there's further updates here on Hal's site. Thought we'd scroll down here and see what some of the latest updates are. Talking about Assad making his way to Moscow. It was reported apparently errantly earlier today that Assad's plane went down and he was on it supposedly, but none of that was true. He's fine. He's in Moscow. This is a photograph apparently from earlier today, although he looks surprisingly happy. I don't know why. But anyway, will remain to be seen what actually shakes out with all of the Assad stuff happening. But I thought this was kind of interesting. He linked to this Nostradamus of the Balkans, Baba Vanga article, and I wanted to show you guys what that said. Before we do, there's one other little update here on Hal's site. U.S.'s B-52s are bombing Syria now, cleaning up the loose ends, so no one can testify. So just look at this real quick. United States Air Force has begun bombing in Syria. So yet again, more bombing, and this time it's the U.S. After the fall of the Syrian government and the resignation of Assad, who fled to Moscow, the U.S. has commenced bombing targets inside the defenseless country. This is the true nature of the American government, attacking a defenseless country which poses no threat to the U.S. and has committed no act of war or hostility against us. Yes, but it has against the globalists, right? Because Assad said no to the pipeline. They wanted to run right through his front yard. He said no, and because of that, he gets his regime collapsed. He gets his government collapsed. And that's what they're doing, just like they did with Ukraine and so many other places across the globe. So anyway, talking about mafia gangsters and how the U.S. government is exactly that, which of course they are. The big shots in the U.S. know that they've been stealing more than $30 million a month in Syrian oil and divvying up the money amongst themselves. The oil was shipped by tanker trucks into Turkey, where it was slightly refined, relabeled, and sold. Now they're killing all the witnesses who could testify against them. So that's what some of this bombing has to do with. And you can see it here. He's got pictures and more over here on HalTurnerRadioShow.com. And then I wanted to mention this. U.S. launches strikes in Syria after Trump warned America should not get involved in the Middle East conflict. Yeah, well, Trump, you don't get to say, we're just going to take you to war anyway, and we're going to get so deep into this war that the U.S. cannot get out, even if you're going to be the president. Even if you're going to defy the odds and stay alive and get inaugurated on January the 20th, if all that's going to happen, we're still going to take you to war. So that seems to be what's going on. And it was reported earlier today that, in fact, the Biden administration has plans for there to be full-on war with Russia, actual announced full-on war with Russia by February 20th next year. So that's a month after, supposedly, Trump is inaugurated. But it doesn't matter if there's stay-behind networks and there are people that are supporting this cause in the government. Even if Trump gets in there, he can't possibly clean house, really, for saying that even happens. He can't really clean house that quickly, and they know this. They know they can leave their people in for as long as possible, and that means a rollover in such a period of time there that it's going to take a while for Trump to be able to go in and clean house. That's saying that he even does, which he may not. He's a huge supporter of Israel, as we all know. So he may be all for this, although he campaigned, as we all know, on peace and getting us out of all of these foreign entanglements and wars and everything else. So I don't know. But the point is here that they're saying that February 20th is the official date of the full-on war with Russia, between the U.S. and Russia. So That doesn't sound too good. U.S. launches strikes in Syria after Trump warned America should not get involved in the Middle East conflict. Yeah, he did say that, but it doesn't matter. They're going to take us to war anyway. So that's what this article is about here. There's more and quite a few details. It says this weekend, these jihadis stormed into Damascus, the capital city, largely unopposed. They then flooded into Assad's presidential palace, declaring the country free from the tyrant, quote unquote, which I suppose it depends on who you ask, but Assad was not a tyrant from what I can understand. From what I mean, I've never been there, of course, but from what I've heard, he was not a tyrant, although, kind of remains to be seen, I suppose, as far as further details coming out. So I would leave that open-ended. However, all the people that really hate Assad are all the people that also hate Trump and want globalism. So I would say make sure you take a look at everything before you decide whether or not Assad was a bad guy. And if Putin's supporting him in some way here, I tend to think that he's probably not such a bad guy. But anyway, I wanted to mention this just because this is talking about the palace, the presidential palace, being looted here, and that's kind of what I was going to mention about this. Baba Vanga, this is the article that Hal mentions here, the Nostradamus of the Balkans, who I've never heard of Baba Vanga before, but I'm not saying I necessarily believe this stuff, but listen to what this, you could call it a vision, or it's not really a prophecy because this person was not talking about anything biblical, although you could definitely point to biblical prophetic implications here. It says, is the world going to see a great war soon? Check out what Baba Vanga had predicted for 2025. The Nostradamus of the Balkans predicted that the fall of Syria would ignite a global war. Recent rebel advances in Aleppo have fueled these concerns. This article was just dated yesterday. Vanga, who died in 1996, foresaw a conflict between the West and the East triggered by Syria's collapse, potentially leading to a devastating World War III. Across the globe, tensions are running dangerously high. The Israeli-Palestine conflict continues to escalate. The war between Russia and Ukraine shows no sign of resolution. Unrest in Syria adds to the growing instability in the volatile atmosphere. The predictions of Vanga, a famed mystic, for 2025 have drawn significant attention. Nostradamus of the Balkans, Vanga had already predicted the fall of Syria, but what is more worrisome is that she predicted that the fall of Syria would trigger a devastating global war. Syria, a country in the Middle East, shares the borders with Turkey to the north, Iraq to the east and southeast, Lebanon to the west, and Israel to the southwest, is witnessing a renewed conflict in its 12-year-long civil war since the Arab Spring. So it goes on with some further details here. And says, Vanga, who passed away in 96, warned of a dire future tied to Syria's fate. She prophesied when Syria falls, a great war between the West and East will follow. In the spring, a conflict will ignite in the East, leading to a third world war, a war that will destroy the West. As Syria's turmoil deepens, her ominous predictions have sparked concern, with many viewing the ongoing unrest as a potential prelude to global conflict. The other part of her prophecy is more cryptic, with many wondering what it could mean. This is the part they're talking about here. Syria will fall at the feet of the winner, but the winner will not be the one. And I think that we've just explained what that means here tonight. Syria will fall at the feet of the winner. Well, the winner are the jihadis that were sent in by Israel. They were the people that went in and collapsed the government, essentially. But the winner, meaning the jihadis, will not be the one. No, that would be Israel. Israel and NATO and the U.S., the West. So I don't really think that particular part of her prophecy, quote unquote, is really that much in question. Says that she also predicted the 9/11 attacks in the Kursk submarine disaster in 2000 and severe climate changes attributed to global warming. But I guess she didn't predict geoengineering. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. It's just something that Hal linked to. But looking at the the true nature here of what we should actually pay attention to, not necessarily someone who is steeped in the occult, which if she's a mystic, she most likely is. I'm not putting any stock in that. I do think it's interesting, but you guys know the biblical passages here about Damascus, the burden against Damascus in Isaiah 17. Behold, Damascus is no longer a city. It has become a heap of ruins, which that hasn't happened yet, but it could. Most people tend to think, when they look at this closely, that Damascus will probably suffer some sort of nuclear situation. And I thought this part of Isaiah 17 was really interesting. I don't really remember seeing it before. In the evening, there is sudden terror. Before morning, they are no more. In the evening, there is sudden terror. Before morning, they are no more. So that is part of Isaiah 17. And then that linked me over to Jeremiah 49, talking about concerning Damascus, and I will set fire to the walls of Damascus. It will consume the fortress of Ben-Hadad. I will set fire to the walls of Damascus. It will consume the fortress of Ben-Hadad. So I had to look up what that was. Obviously, when you hear fire in the walls, that sounds nuclear to me. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know. But as far as the fortresses of Ben-Hadad, I had to look up that. I didn't know what that was. It says in these passages, the term fortresses of Ben-Hadad could refer to a fortress of the current king, which the current leader, the person in charge, was Assad. And again, looking at this Daily Mail article, it's talking about how the palaces, the fortress, has now been looted. So do you think that is what's being said? I don't know. It's just something I came across earlier today and did think it was kind of interesting. Yeah, been watching for Isaiah 17 for a long time, Kathy says. Yeah, I know. A lot of people have. So this is definitely something to keep in mind and to pray about. And I do think that it, certainly could be part of the end time scenario that we see unfolding here in front of our very eyes. So definitely something to keep in mind and pray against. However, obviously it is written, and the Bible, I believe, is 100% true. So I don't know whether or not we are in for this particular unfolding of prophecy, but it sure looks like it. Let's just say that. It sure looks like it. So anyway, let's move on. We've got quite a few other articles to take a look at tonight. So the next one I had to pull up here was from needtoknow.news. These guys, Pusher Gates infuriates India after calling it a, quote, laboratory for testing ideas. We mentioned this last week. And yep, he's at it again. I would say possibly the biblical false prophet. What do you guys think about that? I asked that question last week and didn't really get any response. So let me know if you guys think that Bill Gates could possibly be the false prophet. I'm definitely open to interpretation as far as your opinion and whether or not you think that's correct or not. I tend to think it would be more someone like him versus Trump. I know that people are putting that out, that Trump is the false prophet and Trump is the Antichrist and all this stuff. I don't really think so, because why would God try and trick the believers that believe in him? So not the believers that believe in Trump, but the believers that believe in God. So there's lots of people who love God who are depending on Trump to do the right thing here, not necessarily worshiping him, but just depending on him to do the right thing. And I believe personally that God spared his life at least 2 times that we know of to put him in position to be the next president. And in fact, he should be, unless he's killed before he ever gets sworn in, or they take us to war and they declare martial law and throw him in jail, or who knows what could happen between now and then. But the possibility is there that to me at least, that Gates or someone like him could be the false prophet. Because why would God take the people that really follow him and follow his son, Jesus Christ, and trick us all by getting Trump involved in everything here, and then trick us all by making him the Antichrist, or making sure he's the Antichrist, like so many people are saying? Why would God do that? I mean, God loves us. God sent his son for us, and his son died for us. Why would he trick people who are believers in him and make sure that Trump is either the Antichrist or the false prophet? It doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, I get wanting to look at that, and that's fine, but to me it just doesn't make sense. Like, biblically, it doesn't make sense even just thinking about it. It's not really rational to me. Anyway, yeah. As far as this article goes, in India, it says Gates' podcast with Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, sparked a heated debate in India after his comments labeling the country as a laboratory for testing ideas, Gates had said. And it's kind of a laboratory to try things, and when you prove them out in India, you can take them other places. So that's what he said in the interview. His comments revived a controversy over clinical trials in 2009 that were funded by the Bill and Melinda Foundation to test for cervical cancer on young Indian girls. Several tribal girls died after many others were severely ill. All the deaths were dismissed from being related to the of course, without proper investigations. Reporting of the deaths were often ignored and underreported. There were gross violations of informed consent, and many of the girls and their parents were illiterate and did not understand the serious risks of the experiments, which is the whole reason Gates wanted to do the experimenting on these people to begin with, because they didn't know any better, and he could victimize them and kill them, essentially, and not have to pay the price. So, truly evil. And it certainly is something that a knight of Prince Charles and now King Charles would do. And Gates, supposedly, just like Klaus Schwab, is a knight of KC3, King Charles III. So anyway, very, very evil. Evil stuff. I guess you guys knew about this story. Insurance CEO under investigation for insider trading, gunned down and killed in New York. The stories are really flying about this whole thing. If you don't know about it, I'll just read this blurb here on this page. This is on needtoknow.news. Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, was shot and killed in Manhattan in front of the Hilton Hotel on December 4th. United Healthcare is the largest private insurer in the U.S., and Thompson was in New York for an investor meeting when he was killed. Investigators have discovered shell casings at the shooting area engraved with the words "Deny, Defend, and Depose." So that was engraved on the shell casings, supposedly, that killed this guy. Very strange. Social media posters suggest the words may point back to the 2010 book, Delay, Deny, Defend. Why insurance companies don't pay claims and what you can do about it. Recent data from the Lending Tree shows that United Healthcare had some of the highest claim denial rates, 32%, according to a graph, by any insurance company in the U.S. Thompson was the focus of a DOJ probe into insider trading. He sold $15 million in stock 2 weeks before it was announced that United Healthcare is the target of an antitrust investigation. Although there are security photos, the shooter, who used a 9mm handgun, has yet to be identified and arrested. There is a $10,000 reward for information in this case. 13 hours after the assassination, Thompson's Minneapolis home and that of his wife, who lives a mile away, were targeted with bomb threats that were determined to be a hoax and called it a swatting kind of harassment. So then this is supposedly the shooter when he was, I don't know, in getting a coffee or something at Starbucks or something like that. But anyway, yeah, the story is very bizarre. So I don't know if you guys knew much about this. I haven't really investigated a whole lot personally, but I do think it's really interesting. It looks to me like the guy actually was shot and killed. It looked very real. I know some people are saying, no, he wasn't even killed. It was all a hoax and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, if that was a hoax, it was pretty well done. But anyway, I'll let you guys take a look at this article if you're interested in more. I think we've got some more articles on this story a little bit later as well. All right. Next article on needtoknow.news. Meta/Facebook joins Amazon and Google and Microsoft and they are pursuing nuclear power to fund their AI data centers. This is something that I've mentioned before because of the AI systems requiring so much power. And this is something that Trump has really been pushing, by the way. He's all for this, apparently. It says a single query on ChatGPT consumes almost 10 times as much electricity as a Google search. 10 times. Data centers powering AI chatbots like OpenAI's ChatGPT accounts for 2% of global electricity consumption. Zuckerberg's Meta has announced plans to partner with nuclear energy developers in the United States to provide an astonishing 1 to 4 gigawatts of new nuclear generation capacity starting in the early 2030s. Which, of course, that's if we make it there, right? Meta's AI chatbot boasts more than 500 million monthly users and is on track to become the most used AI assistant in the world by the end of the year. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google have recently announced partnerships with energy companies to develop small modular reactors, SMRs is what they're calling it. Microsoft and Constellation have announced a 20-year power purchase agreement to restart the Unit 1 reactor on 3 Mile Island. Good plan, good plan. Unit 2 there experienced the meltdown in 1979. So, yep. Nuclear power, it's fine when they use it. It's just fine. When the AI requires it, I guess it's okay. If the rest of us need that sort of power, no, you can't have it. We're going to have to give you rolling blackouts and conserve. But, yep, it's fine if AI needs it, I guess. New supplement, quote-unquote, introduced into cattle's feed to reduce methane in cow flatulence. So yet again, we are talking the crazy conspiracy theorists like Bill Gates saying that it's cows that are ruining the atmosphere. Nope, it's people like Bill Gates and his geoengineering programs. That's who's doing it. So it says from the UK, Bovir. Bovir is a new animal feed additive and supplement in cattle feed to reduce animal methane gas emissions for the purpose of reducing phony global warming. Bovir is a organic compound that works by suppressing the enzyme in the cow's rumen that forms methane. Arla Foods, which owns the UK's biggest dairy cooperative, announced last week it will begin using Bovir and is working with grocery store chains like Aldi, Morrison's, and Tesco. There's been consumer backlash against Arla products in the grocery stores as people reject manipulated foods, but they'll keep doing it anyway. You watch them. Arla says Bovir does not filter through to humans when they consume dairy products. Yeah, right. Bovir was authorized in the UK in December 2023, according to DSM, and is available for sale in 68 countries. However, many people are still skeptical that Bovir is safe for the animals that consume it and humans who eat those animal products. In the U.S., Bovir is teamed up with Elanco, and farmers can receive carbon credits for using the product to add to their revenue. In addition to the carbon marketplace, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has awarded $89 million in funding to support farms using technologies like Bovir to reduce their methane emissions. It has not been announced whether farmers in the U.S. are utilizing the product that was approved for its use. So, Arla Foods. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. It sounds like a Bill Gates type of story, though. That's something he's really been front and center with as far as the methane in the cows. But, of course, it's all just a distraction from what's really going on. And that, of course, is geoengineering. That is the global warming. That is the climate change that we're really talking about here. Not what cows are producing. All right, technocracy.news. The 3 most recent headlines. Trump taps arch technocrat David Sachs for AI and crypto czar. David Sachs is an arch technocrat who is part of the so-called PayPal mafia that was founded by Peter Thiel. As a venture capitalist, he was an angel investor in companies like Facebook, Uber, SpaceX, Palantir, and Airbnb. Now he will be Trump's czar on AI and crypto policy. It just goes from bad to worse on some of these picks, doesn't it? I know. I hear lots of people that complain to me about some of the picks that Trump has made, and it will, of course, remain to be seen if Trump even gets in there to allow some of these picks to even be, approved after they were nominated. So we will see. Trilateral Commissioner Eric Schmidt warns that AI can seriously harm young men. Eric Schmidt knows a thing or two about manipulating people and their emotions with AI since he invented the genre when he was CEO at Google. Here he is talking about young males, but what about the rest of humanity? AI portends the end of reality for all ages as they get ensnared in the simulacra of anti-reality. Yeah, so anyway, that's the top 3 articles that are currently on technocracy.news, and if any of those 3 sound interesting, you should look at those pretty quickly because they do end up going behind a paywall at some point. If you're not already a member there, I don't think you could read the whole article, but currently those 3 are available. So it's just a word of warning there. ReclaimTheNet.org, just a few of the front headlines here on this site. Trump taps pro-free speech and Rumble board member David Sachs to lead AI and crypto push. So he's also part of Rumble, which I didn't realize that, but that makes sense. He's involved in all these technology companies pretty much. And then TikTok on the clock, U.S. Appeals Court hits the ban button. So it remains to be seen whether or not TikTok is going to be banned. But I guess if they need a scapegoat, it's a pretty good one. But still, I think don't ban it and let parents decide. But personally, I feel like that's the way it should go. Although, if they want someone to blame, they could easily blame TikTok for all the things going wrong, I suppose. It's kind of what our government does. Points people in the wrong direction and blames the wrong people. So not that communist China is not to blame. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, leave it up to the parents. So anyway, that is a couple of the articles on ReclaimTheNet.org. And then some Liberty Beacon articles I pulled up. And we'll link to all these in the Substack posts that I send out on Tuesday. Syrian rebels stormed the capital of Damascus, reportedly forcing Assad to flee, which of course we know that is true. And then here's some video and further information on this site as far as that particular story goes. Bill reverses ATACM's order to remove the potential of nuclear war with Russia. So that's good news, but don't look for this to go anywhere. A bill introduced into the U.S. House of Representatives by Representative Clay Higgins would prohibit the U.S. from sending long-range ATACMS missiles to Ukraine to be fired into Russia. Well, that's already happening. So maybe it might be too little too late. I don't know. As U.S. personnel and satellites are required to fire the missiles from Ukrainian territory, Moscow considers it a direct U.S. attack on Russia, putting it in a state of war with the U.S., which could lead to a nuclear conflict. So, I don't think that that's probably realistic, though, just because obviously we know most of Congress is free to be investing in all of the government war machine there. So a lot of them are making millions and millions of dollars on going to war in the military-industrial complex. So I don't really look for this to make any difference, but at least somebody is trying something, so I guess that's good. Let's see here. The next article I had pulled up was another one on Assad and Syria. This is from Sky News. Assad has left Damascus, says Russia, as Syrian army declares end of his rule. So this is more information here and some video, and actually quite a bit of detail here on what was going on. And this has more about the palace, people that were seen taking things and doing selfies and all kinds of things. People stealing the chandeliers, I guess, because that's important. So you can see the jihadis having fun here. So it's a big party right now at the expense of Assad and company, and being funded by us, American taxpayer, and Israel. So isn't that lovely? All right, says Trump on Syria conflict. This is not our fight. This is something I mentioned a little while ago. This is on the Hill. Trump heavily criticized Syrian rebels for their move to overtake the city of Damascus, but emphasized that this was not America's fight. Yes, but he's not realizing, though, that it's Israel that's actually funding this. Surely he must know this, right? I don't know that he does. I don't think that that's something that he wants to hear, personally, because he has so much love for Israel, as we all know. Russia, because they are so tied up in Ukraine and with the loss of over 600,000 soldiers, I don't know that Russia's lost that many, seems incapable of stopping this literal march through Syria, a country that they have protected for years. Trump wrote on Truth Social, also claiming that Obama did not help the country enough during his administration. There was never much of a benefit in Syria for Russia other than to make Obama look really stupid, Trump said in the Post. U.S. Embassy in Syria pressed Americans to leave the war-torn region on Friday. For months, Russia and Iran backed the nation's government in a fight against opposition forces. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting just because it sounds like Trump isn't really seeing what's going on here and that it's Israel that's paying for and sponsoring the jihadis to be doing what they're doing in Syria. It's not just an organic thing where you have all these rebels who are going in and taking over things. No, they've been turned loose. They're like little wind-up toys. They've been turned loose by Israel and company. Israel and the U.S. in particular. Trump pledges to pardon J6 prisoners on day one. So for as much dumb stuff and terrible stuff that Trump's going to do and decisions he makes, which not saying anybody's perfect, obviously, but at least this is something that might be a good thing. And it's not something that would happen if it were Kamala and company that were next in line. But anyway, this is saying Trump pledges to pardon J6 prisoners on day one. And this is him stating that very thing in this interview. So we will see. I hope that does happen because, as we all know, it was a Fedsurrection, not an insurrection. So we'll see how it plays out. But hopefully those guys and ladies, will get their freedom very, very quickly. Nearly half a century after its release, the song YMCA is on the top of Billboard charts because of Trump. I thought this was kind of funny, just coming at it from a music standpoint, musician and music standpoint, which of course I am a music person. It's how I make my living day to day. Believe it or not, I don't actually do this show every day and generate lots of money. I'm barely even making ends meet on this particular show, but thank you guys for helping me and for supporting what I'm doing. And further information can be found over there in the upper right corner on the Substack and also on Subscribestar if you guys will have a look at that. But yeah, this is this particular article I just pulled up because I thought it was kind of interesting. It's talking about the song YMCA, which of course everyone knows is at least now is the gay anthem, right? Well, Trump has apparently claimed it. I guess he was using it on many of his different, things that he was doing as far as the different rallies and campaign appearances and stuff. Apparently he was using that. It says 45 years after its release, it's back on top of the Billboard charts. And this person, Victor Willis, is going to be singing it at the inauguration. I would put a huge asterisk by that. You know why. But he is one of the, I'm assuming one of the writers of the song, but also one of the original Village People. And he says that it was not originally a gay anthem, which is really funny because now that's really all it's known for. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. And there's more information on this article on Revolver if you guys want to check it out. It's pretty wild. It's still a good song no matter what happened, but yeah, it's kind of crazy as far as the history of it goes. And you guys probably I'm sure you've seen this about the Daniel Penny story going on. It's kind of front and center right now because it's such a racial thing that people want to be offended that this white person took this black person's life. Of course, if it was the other way, it would never even have been a story. It probably never would have gone to court. It would have been dismissed early on. Well, the good news is that the judge has dismissed the manslaughter charge, but he's still facing other pretty hefty charges here. says Manhattan Judge Maxwell Wiley granted the prosecution's Friday motion to dismiss a second-degree manslaughter charge against U.S. Marine Daniel Penny, who's 26, after reports of a hung jury, according to CNN. The jury will return on Monday to resume deliberations over Penny's lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. Manhattan prosecutors charged Penny last year in connection with the death of Jordan Neely, a homeless black man on a New York subway in May 2023. Bystander footage showed Penny and two other passengers pin Neely to the ground after Neely started shouting threats at passengers. Prosecutors say Penny put Neely in a chokehold that resulted in his death. Penny insisted he acted in self-defense and pleaded not guilty to all charges. Neely's death led to protests by some who suggested Penny's actions were racially motivated, which, of course, if you watch the video, it doesn't look like that at all. They called for more public services to address those struggling with mental health issues and homelessness. So I think that would be a good thing, but this guy obviously had a lot wrong when all of this went down. So anyway, they're trying to frame this guy and put him away because, number one, he's white, and number two, he's ex-military. That's a couple of strikes against him that the press doesn't like, and the people that are seeking prosecution against him certainly do not like either. So anyway, this article is on WNG.org, so you guys can find it there, but it's also in many other places. So we will see what happens. I'm not so sure that he's going to get off here as far as some of these charges that are against him. It doesn't look real promising. And again, if he was not white-skinned, I think it wouldn't even be an issue, really. I think that things would have just unfolded a little bit more organically, but not looking good. Penny's attorneys motioned for a mistrial over the deadlock, which prosecutors avoided by moving to drop one of their own charges against Penny. The veteran may face up to 4 years in prison for criminally negligent homicide, which is something that I mentioned a little bit ago. But yeah, this is kind of tells me that they're dropping some of their own charges in the hopes to get him put in prison. And it sounded a little bit like, to me, this whole story, from the details that I've heard, sounds a little bit like the story that happened, back in 2020, and the guy that died here, this Neely, apparently had a drug problem, and it wasn't really the chokehold that did him in. It was just the drugs in his system that took him out. So I don't know if that was the case or not. I don't know if that's even come out necessarily in this court case. But okay, yeah, Neely's father is suing civilly, I believe. Yeah, that could be. So yeah, I mean, I've heard that he was a drug addicted type of person, and kind of similarly to the whole George Floyd thing that happened in 2020. I think that this is one of those situations where that could be part of the deal here as well. And the drug use may have been the main contributing factor to his death, although that's not something the prosecution would even want to bring up. So I don't know. They just want to stick it to him because he's white. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes and where it ends up. Not looking too good, though, that's for sure. Daniel Penny prosecutor Daphne Yoran's breathtaking hypocrisy revealed as she demands manslaughter conviction. So this is kind of what we're talking about. And this is the assistant Manhattan DA who has pushed for lenient sentences for criminals, but is asking for a maximum 15 years in prison for Marine veteran Penny. So this is her here. Daphne Yoran is the assistant Manhattan DA. And I saw that name and I'm thinking, that is not a Presbyterian name, if you know what I mean. And so, yep, I looked it up. Daphne Yoran, her Wikipedia page and biography states, guess what? She is of Israeli descent. Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's all you need to know, really, isn't it? All right, let's see here. RT.com, Reuters should retract the fake Assad plane crash story. Yeah, apparently this was, like I said at the beginning of the show, this was part of the fake news going around, but that's what they do, right? Because it is Reuters after all. The Western outlet is guilty of spreading the very fakes that it so zealously fights. Yeah, but they don't fact check themselves. They just fact check everyone else. So yeah, obviously Assad's plane did not crash. So anyway, Syrian rebels topple President Assad. Prime Minister calls for free elections. So yeah, this is even more here. The part that's highlighted here says Syrian air. This is the fake news story that I was just mentioning. Assad's whereabouts were unknown. Again, this is the official mainstream media archive here of page from Reuters, dated December 8th. So yeah, this is today. Syrian airplane took off from Damascus airport around the time the capital was reported to have been taken by rebels. And then it says 2 Syrian sources said there was a very high probability that Assad may have been killed in a plane crash, as it was a mystery why the plane took a surprise U-turn and disappeared off the map. So there you go. There's the fake news, and it wasn't fact checked. It was just left. So this is what RT and I guess in particular this Maria Zakharova has been saying is fake news, and it should be retracted, but who knows. So, and then further RT articles about Assad and his wife in Moscow. Obviously, they were not in a plane crash, so that's good. Netanyahu claims credit for overthrowing Assad. Of course he does. Israeli Prime Minister has hailed the jihadist takeover of Syria as historic day in the Middle East because he gets his greater Israel. He gets a big chunk of it after all this. So again, with Assad out of the way, they can do anything they want now, at least in that area. So that is not good. And then speaking of war and things like that we were just mentioning earlier in the show, Romania's rightful president, you guys know what's going on in Romania? This is not good either. This is another one of those stepping stones to World War III, if you ask me. Romania's rightful president, New World Order, is trying to kill me, meaning this guy, Georgescu, for exposing the satanic agenda. I remember mentioning briefly this guy last week, just calling him the Romanian president. But they are trying to take this guy who is, I guess you could call him the Trump of Romania, who had just won a popular election. And guess what? The Romanian government has overturned the results of the election, and they're not going to allow him in. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Romania's rightful president, Călin Georgescu, is waging a battle against a rigged judiciary and global elite desperate to silence him forever because he dares to expose their dark secrets. So the same version of the Trump situation is now trying to play out in Romania, and they have overturned the results of the election over there because they want to keep their globalist stranglehold on Romania because they don't want Romania to side with Russia and do things that help Putin and company. So just another wrinkle to this whole World War story that Romania may be a very important little piece to the jigsaw puzzle here, something to watch. All right, some of the other headlines on the People's Voice. USDA mandates nationwide testing of milk for the... They're trying to bring it back, aren't they? Australia rolls out a digital ID system with plans for carbon tracking and social credit scores. So Australia, as usual, and I would say New Zealand as well, are on the cutting edge on all this stuff. They want to do all this stuff right after China rolls it out, then they want to roll it out next. So yeah. And then Biden administration makes first ever climate change arrest in America. A climate change arrest. Biden regime has made the first ever arrest for the so-called climate change-related crime, paving the way for authorities to mass arrest other law-abiding citizens who oppose their net zero agenda. So that's kind of interesting, huh? Not good news. Anyway, that is all the top headlines on the peoplesvoice.tv. And then the Information Liberation headlines. Israel seizes land in Syria's Golan Heights. And that is, something I mentioned a little while ago. This is a big chunk here that they're going to be adding to the Greater Israel piece of territory. Syrian government falls to ISIS and Al-Qaeda-linked terrorists. And you could also say Israeli-linked terrorists. And you could also say American-linked terrorists. Daniel Penny show trial. And then Telegraph touts the diversity-friendly jihadists tearing through Syria. Yeah, they love their jihadis, don't they? I don't know if you guys knew about this. Justice Sotomayor compares the risks of child sex changes to taking an aspirin. It's no different. Yeah. And then I mentioned this lady a little bit ago, Daphne Yoran, activist prosecutor in Daniel Penny trial, draws scrutiny. So yes, Daphne Yoran. That's not a Presbyterian name. We love Israel. Syrian terrorists credit Israeli strikes for shock advance. All right, and then we get into the pardon and all that kind of stuff. So those are the top headlines, or a few of them, on Information Liberation. Appeals court rules law that could ban TikTok will stand. U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit rejected an appeal on Friday to overturn the law that could ban the short-form video app TikTok from the United States. The law would implement the ban unless TikTok cuts ties with Chinese parent company ByteDance. Why don't the Bidens cut their ties with China and see what happens? Says President Biden, fake President Biden, signed legislation in April that would then ban the app within a year if TikTok was still owned by China-based company. Well, are they going to do the same thing to Walmart? Because Walmart has Chinese ties too. And so many other companies do. So anyway, this is obviously they're just picking somebody here to blame things on. Not saying TikTok's good. I don't like it either, but I again would rather have the parents making the decision, not the U.S. government, personally. Because if they ban TikTok, they can ban anybody for anything. That's where it's headed. And they will. And then I found this article on Sputnik. I thought it was pretty interesting. And see what you guys think. Why the Clintons need Biden's blanket pardons more than other Democrats. So this is according to Sputnik. Pretty funny. After fake President Joe issued an unusual blanket pardon for his son Hunter. Oh, it wasn't really that unusual, was it? Pardoned him for everything and anything he's ever done, basically for life. I think going back to the day he was born. I mean, might as well be. Democrat Congressman Ed Markey has urged the president to extend preemptive pardons to other top Democrats whom Trump believes harmed him and might otherwise be treated by him in a fascistic way. Trump is the fascist for wanting to implement the law. After nearly 4 years of weaponizing U.S. government resources against perceived enemies of certain dynastic political families, Markey and Biden have some nerve suggesting that the Trump administration will be engaging in, quote, fascist retaliation starting January 20th. Wall Street analyst Charles Ortel tells Sputnik, referencing Biden's prosecution of January 6th protesters and labeling MAGA supporters as extremists. I would say, and also garbage. He also called MAGA people garbage. U.S. journalist Jonathan Martin, reported on December 4th that Biden's senior aides are debating the issue, and the alleged pardon list might include Senator-elect Adam Schiff and former GOP Rep. Liz Cheney, as well as, guess who, COVID czar Anthony Fauci. So what do you think will happen if Fauci gets pardoned? I would still say and stick to what I said last week about this whole pardon thing when it broke, and that is simply look at the 2020 election. Start there, because Biden was never actually duly elected. He's been sitting there in that position, but he was never put there by the people. Therefore, he can't pardon anyone. So I think his pardons, like everything else he's done, is completely worthless. Completely worthless. So I think you could look at it from that legal standpoint. And if you do, then the whole 2020 election sham, a 2020 election fraud will come out as well. Yeah, Fauci needs to go to jail. Fraudchi needs to go to jail. Yeah, no kidding. But anyway, I think they might try it, though. They might try to give Fauci a pardon and so many of these other criminals as well. Anyway, this article goes on here and is talking about the Clintons in particular. It says why Hillary and Bill need Biden's pardons, as Joe Biden's White House reportedly considers preemptive pardons, something that never existed before, by the way, for some top Democrats. Ortel suggests that the Clintons might be on the list. The Clinton Foundation, in quotes, because I challenge an informed lawyer to demonstrate that it validly and lawfully exists as a public charity. Oh, wow, there's that. Has yet again issued false and materially misleading public filings as it continues to solicit donations in various ways across state lines and national boundaries. And this guy, Ortel, has stated this, who has conducted a private investigation into the charity's alleged fraud for several years. So he's talking in particular about Bill and Hillary needing a pardon because their foundation is a total fraud, which you and I know this already, but that would be pretty wild. Imagine if this happens. So yeah, interesting stuff. Biden's pardon makes Hunter invaluable witness. So this article's got some interesting things to take a look at. And looking to see if it mentions Fauci in particular here. Other than just by name only. There's no details about Fauci. But yeah, it's really more about the Clintons and protecting them from prosecution because of the fake foundation. Pretty wild. I didn't really know about that, although one would think that pretty much everything that Bill and Hillary touch turns to you-know-what. Shiite. We could just say Shiite. That's kind of what it is. All right, let's see here. Daily Mail. This was further information here on this killer that shot the healthcare CEO. Brian Thompson, manhunt recap. Hunt for United Healthcare CEO assassin ramps up as FBI mobilizes with new reward issued. They have this picture, and you would think that they could run some basic, probably fairly rudimentary facial recognition software and figure out exactly who this guy is and where he lives, where he's from, and probably everything about him, and go knock on his door and arrest him. But has that happened yet? Apparently not. So that kind of makes one wonder if what we're being told here is indeed the truth, because number one, he's a white guy. Number two, they have some really clear pictures of him that they could run through facial recognition software and find out exactly who he is and where he is. I mean, it is New York after all. There's cameras everywhere. It's kind of like China in the West almost. So I don't know. I found it very difficult to believe that they don't know exactly who this guy is, and they didn't know exactly who this guy is within moments after it happened. So maybe there's more to the story than what we're being told, perhaps. But they wouldn't lie to us or anything, would they? No. Say it isn't so. Anyway, that's on the Daily Mail. And this is the original story here, at least on Zero Hedge anyway. United Healthcare CEO assassination, bullet casings inscribed with deny, defend, and depose. Talking about the casings that were found. You can see here in the video footage how close the guy was. I've heard some people say that this guy wasn't really a professional. He did do some things that one would think that he was trying to be be a professional, but that he wasn't actually a professional because of some of the things that he was seen doing on camera. So I don't know. Here's the book, Delay, Deny, Defend, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. So very interesting. Jay Feynman. Interesting name, huh? Very similar to that other name I mentioned. I don't think it's Presbyterian. So this Thompson that was killed, if indeed that is what happened, that is very sad, but hopefully they will find this guy if that's what needs to happen. But I don't know. The whole thing seems very suspicious to me. Very suspicious. All right, ForbiddenKnowledgeTV.net. Some of the top headlines and articles on this site. Russian foreign minister says Russia wants to normalize relations with the U.S. That, of course, is Mr. Lavrov, Russian foreign minister Sergei Lavrov. Here is a link to a MonkeyWorks. You guys know who that is. MonkeyWorks, I guess, video. Domestic alert that they're issuing here. Flight patterns of U.S. military jets. Lieutenant Michael Byrd threatens to go public unless he is pardoned. Now, that is the guy who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. So this was kind of an interesting story, I think. Lieutenant Michael Byrd threatens to go public unless he is given a pardon. So lots of pardon talk lately here. Former Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd was the only person to shoot a weapon on January 6, 2021. Byrd shot and killed an unarmed woman, Ashley Babbitt. You may have heard of her. Byrd's identity was obscured for a long period by the Biden coup plotters, and they housed him at Andrews Air Force Base for 6 months for his protection. In addition, Byrd was promoted to captain, given a $37,000 retention bonus and a $160,000 in private fundraising. Yet Byrd was not satisfied. As reported by Just the News on December 5th, Byrd worked with at least one Democrat representative to secure even more benefits, specifically from a memorial fund dedicated to providing help to wounded officers. So now we're engaging in fraud here, apparently, too. So yeah, he needs even more money. It says, last Thursday, U.S. government insider Patrick Byrne, who I've mentioned on the show before, posted on Telegram a tweet from @Amuse with the comment, Michael Byrd threatens to go public unless he is pardoned by Biden. Doesn't that seem odd? Well, not really when you take into consideration who we're talking about here. Anyone that's connected to the Biden regime. So no, it doesn't really surprise me. Anyway, there it is. That's on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv, this particular article. Oh yeah, Leo Hohmann's Substack articles for the week. Some of the newest ones here. Governments of France, Romania, Georgia, Syria, Israel, South Korea, and Russia. Talking about governments being collapsed. Talking about Romania and this this guy that was elected, and then the court has overturned the election. And then the next article, the war whores of the military-industrial complex are lighting the world on fire. You know, that's the whole purpose of it. That's why they exist. And then, let's see, the rest of these articles were ones that we mentioned last week, I think. So feel free to look at leohohmann.substack.com. He has some good articles on there. And then we are running out of December 8th. We are almost at the end of December 8th here. So I wanted to bring up this story. This is something that kind of interests me coming from the music perspective. Assassination of John Lennon, which happened December 8th, 1980. So I've found that this guy has probably done the best work of recent, anyway, that I know of, on this particular subject, on John Lennon's assassination. This guy named David Whelan, Whelan. He's a Brit, and he has really put in a ton of research into this whole thing as far as the conspiracy that was definitely a conspiracy about John Lennon's assassination. And this is just one of his Substacks that he's got here, and I would highly recommend you guys follow his work. David Whelan, and I'll link to it in the Substack post that I put out as well, so you'll have it front and center there. But let's take a look at some of the things he's kind of uncovered. And I do find it really interesting. Part 1, did a UK music paper uncover the truth about John Lennon's assassination back in 1981? In 4 highly revealing 1981 articles, the British music paper New Musical Express, NME, outlined some startlingly accurate assumptions about John Lennon's assassination and his alleged killer. Part 1, Mark Chapman and the born-again bigots who hate rock and roll, quote unquote. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's the way the article starts out here. Once everyone woke up in Britain on the 9th of December, 1980, to the shocking news that John Lennon was assassinated in New York the previous night, it hit very hard. Nothing would be the same again. Our John was killed by a wacko, exclaimed the early reports. It was a seemingly senseless tragedy that was nicely packaged up in an all-too-familiar box labeled Lone Nut. The news commentators implored us to cry, mourn, play the records, but there was absolutely nothing to see beyond the crazy guy doing a crazy thing. The motives shifted like the wind in the days that followed. He was looking for fame. He was killing himself through killing John. He wanted to promote a book. He wanted to be John Lennon. It was hard to get a fix on why the tragedy happened. Never mind. Here's the Imagine playing again on the radio. Poor John. One man who did get an early fix on the assassination was the NME journalist Neil Spencer. Phil Strongman revealed that the NME editor Roy Carr was in the NME office with Spencer the day after John's assassination. Carr was at a loss for words, dumbstruck by the sheer enormity of the tragedy. Spencer, on the other hand, was, according to Carr, absolutely convinced it was a conspiracy. He kept saying so over and over again. This was the quote, "No way they were going to let him come back and go on strikes and marches and stuff. No way. They killed him, didn't they? They killed him." Someone else at the NME, and again, that is the magazine we're talking about here, was called New Musical Express, must have been listening and agreeing with Spencer because throughout the summer of 1981, NME journalists Andrew Tyler and John Michael published 3 startling articles on John Lennon's assassination that seemed to get very close to sounding like the truth. These articles and their theories are doubly important because they were written so close after the event, before official narrative peddlers such as Gaines and Jones could do their official narrative construction, kind of like the JFK thing, right? The official narrative. The first short primer NME article on the subject was published on the 10th of January, 1981, just 4 weeks after John's assassination. The title was provocative. Was John Lennon shot to order? Interesting. It says, above the title were 4 thumbnail pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald, Sirhan Sirhan, James Earl Ray, and Mark Chapman. Beneath the images was the tagline in the question, 4 lone killers who shook the world, or 4 microchipped maniacs. Right here. Again, this was 1981. 4 lone killers who shook the world, or 4 microchipped maniacs. Was Lennon shot to order? So again, we're talking intelligence service type stuff here. Intelligence agencies. The article then explained that bizarre theories linking the assassination of Lennon to U.S. Naval and Air Force intelligence agencies are gaining credence both in the U.S. and Britain. A secret organization calling itself the Alternative Information Service sent the NME a 3-page communique claiming that Mark Chapman worked for a top-secret intelligence unit, which has a department in Hawaii associated with the Pearl Harbor Complex. According to the AIS, the Alternative Information Service, the motive behind the slaying was to protect the Cruise and Trident nuclear missile programs in Europe and the underground MX system planned for the American Southwest, worth an estimated $1,000 billion in defense contracts. So there you go. They didn't want John Lennon out there protesting war. Again, it comes back to war. What was so many of his songs about? Just peace and love, right? Although Lennon had been politically quiet for a few years, AIS claimed U.S. service chiefs had been watching closely Lennon's return to recording and had been worried that he would use his powerful influence in the cause of peace. Peace. Thus wrecking youthful confidence in the nuclear arms program. Chapman supposedly was a tool of the military. The NME then revealed that their own inquiries had shown that Naval and Air Force intelligence units were confirmed to be involved in assassination plots involving brutal and thorough conditioning of agents. So this is why they're getting into the whole David Chapman thing here. And they mention Oswald and some others. So this was apparently a kind of a no-nonsense approach here to what happened with Lennon. And so this is really just part one of this NME expose that they did. And there are several other pieces to this, and this is all on David Whalen's Substack. And I would mention, too, that he posted this today on the 43rd anniversary of Lennon's assassination. I'm proud to announce that my book, meaning Whalen's book, Mind Games, The Assassination of John Lennon, has now been published on Amazon. So if you guys are interested, I'm not getting anything to promote this guy's book at all, but I do think it would probably be worth a read. Mind Games is what it's called. Mind Games, The Assassination of John Lennon. So it's getting into the whole, what we talked about before with the lone nut gunman and the MK Ultra type stuff and the intelligence agencies and who knows what. But the back of the book here, it says, on the 8th of December, 1980, John Lennon was assassinated at his home in New York. I've been there, by the way, not in the building, but I've been right in front of the Dakota. And if you guys are on Facebook, I posted a picture that I took of the Imagine sort of tiled circle thing that's in Central Park right there, a picture that I took when I was there a few years back. It says the world was in shock. Mark Chapman, the man accused and convicted of the crime, had surprisingly stayed at the scene reading a novel. I didn't really remember that. Said in spring 2020, author David Whalen, concerned at the dozens of anomalies he found in the case, commenced a 3-year investigation. Whalen interviewed everyone who was connected to the events. Dakota workers. Dakota was the apartment building that John and Yoko lived at in New York, which is literally right across the street from Central Park. He also interviewed Lennon insiders, NYPD cops and detectives, and the medics who tried to save Lennon. All gave new and revealing testimony. Whalen's investigation uncovered evidence which proves that Chapman was a mind-controlled patsy, enabling a second shooter to assassinate Lennon as he entered his Dakota residence. Whalen concludes that nefarious individuals and hidden organizations conspired to kill John Lennon. So that's kind of what we were mentioning earlier with the whole military-industrial complex. They didn't want him to start some sort of peace revolution that would kill their warmongering. So to me, that makes an awful lot of sense. Anyway, his YouTube channel is also something worthy of a look, I think. It's just called The Assassination of John Lennon. That's literally the name of the YouTube channel. You guys can look it up if you want, but there are lots of clips on here. Some clips of just footage that he found from that period of time, and then other clips where he is the one being interviewed or talking on camera. So I think it's worth a look, and let's have a look at this. This is David Whalen, and just a couple minutes of this. This is when he's detailing here how he found out that John Lennon was shot in the front. He was shot in the front of the body. It says Mark Chapman was standing behind Lennon. He was at least 25 feet away from him. Chapman, the NYPD, and the DA's office all say that Lennon was shot in the back. This is untrue. Like JFK, you cannot be shot in the front from the back. So this is the guy that we're talking about here. This is the author of the book, David Whalen. So let's listen to just a few minutes of this.
And then I started chatting to Dr. Hallam about the night, and I was expecting him to say what Mark Chapman, the NYPD, the DA's office, and the media at the time all said, that John was shot 4 times in the back.
Yeah.
So I just asked him, where on the back exactly was John shot by Mark? And he said he wasn't shot on the back. And I remember when he said those words, I knew, oh no, this is now going to go deeper than I really want it to go. I knew I couldn't stop at that point. It was a massive moment. It was a key moment. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, John was actually shot 4 times in the upper left chest area. And then he said 3 of the bullets that John was shot with came out in a direct line of fire in his upper left back. Right. And 1 of the bullets stayed in John. He thinks that was the one that was closest to John's upper left shoulder. So I asked him to explain these wounds, and he said they were very tight. He called it a professional grouping. And I said to him, you do realise Mark Chapman was standing behind John, and Mark has said that he shot John in the back, and he said, well, that can't be the case. He just thought that was just an anomaly, that he couldn't figure out why Mark would say that, or anybody would think that.
Is that something he thought about himself?
Yeah, it had, and I said to him, have you never thought about...
Yeah.
And he just said, well, I just thought it was a detail that just people got. He didn't think it was that important, which I found odd. But remember, this is a guy who stayed in the shadows for 30 years and let Stephen Lynn take all the credit. So maybe he just didn't want to rock the boat. He was a bit uncomfortable with it. So I said to him, look, even if John turned, and we'll talk about the John turning thing in a minute, 'cause it's quite important. I said, could he achieve that from where he was? Let's say Mark was 20 feet away, if we're being kind. It's probably more like 25 feet. He said, no, it's impossible. He said, not even a Navy SEAL with a .38 revolver.
It's got to be point blank range.
Yeah, he said he thought the person who did it was probably 2 feet away at best. Point blank range, to get that professional close group.
Yeah, so there you have it. 2 feet away. So he was right on top of him when he shot him. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And, that's a pretty key interview, I think. It's only got less than 850 views. So this is something that I've just sort of stumbled across in the last couple years, something like that. And I've just been following it every now and then. I've been on his Substack for a while. So he's doing some really, really good information, really good research on this whole thing. And I would highly recommend at least, checking out his YouTube channel, if nothing else, and having a look at some of these really interesting videos that you don't really see anywhere else. And it's really interesting extra information that it's hard to find for sure. So yeah, that was something I wanted to share with you guys, being as how we are on the anniversary of Lennon's death. So kind of important, I think, because it, if nothing else, it shows how these intelligence agencies operate. This is the kind of stuff that we're figuring that they're going to try and pull, even with Trump or whoever. But it's the kind of stuff that they pull with anybody with any kind of a following that they perceive as a threat to the military-industrial complex and or war. And obviously, we are headed into a very dramatic and huge world war here coming pretty soon, unless things change, which I don't really foresee that happening, unfortunately. But yeah, that I think this story does help sort of uncover the truth of this type of thing and what can happen. So pretty wild. Anyway, let's move on. We've got a few more things to look at tonight yet. We have natural news articles. I did watch this. This is a Brighteon broadcast from a couple days ago where Mike Adams is talking about the magnitude 7.3 earthquake off of California's coast. It's something that I did do a Facebook post on and linked to a couple of websites. It was USGS, but then also the one of the other European earthquake agencies that just gave additional information on the earthquake that happened, and it did look very strange, mostly because it was so shallow. And Mike Adams on this video here, he does go into the fact that it could have been a warning. Not just an earthquake, but it could have been a warning. And perhaps from Russia, not to mess with them. So he did make a pretty good case. I don't know that I necessarily buy that, but I do think it's kind of interesting that it happened where it did, and we haven't seen any other quakes as a result of that. I follow Dutch Sense pretty closely on YouTube, and he remained quiet on this. I'm not exactly sure why he did. I've heard him say, through other people at least, that his account was hacked and so forth. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't really confirm that, but he didn't really say anything on this earthquake, which was pretty big. Was a pretty big deal. And I think that if it was something that he would have anticipated, he would have put a video out about it, because there would have been a very deep earthquake preceding that somewhere along the Ring of Fire on up to the north and or to the west of there, perhaps starting in maybe the Japan area or the Kamchatka part of Russia area. Oftentimes you get a really deep quake, a really large deep quake there that results in a shallower large quake as well on up the line, on up the path away from there. And that is certainly an area where we've seen earthquakes happen before, but a 7.0 is really pretty big. That means that it would have had to have been, for that 7.0 to happen where it did, there would have needed to be probably at least a 6.0 that was really deep before that in the pathway, so that the energy would be transferred to that particular place where it happened. And that's something that Dutch Sense talks about often. I don't think that was the case, from what I could tell. There wasn't a really deep, magnitude 6.0 before that. So I don't know. It does seem a little suspicious to me as far as the timing goes, and the fact that there was nothing preceding that would lead one to expect there to be a 7.0 where it happened. That was in just off the coast of Northern California is where it happened. So I do think it's a little suspicious. And the other crazy thing is that usually that energy keeps moving south from there. So we should have had other pretty large quakes, maybe 5s and 6s on down the California coast, and I'm not so sure that even happened. There were some aftershocks right around that same period of time when it all happened, but as far as I know, there haven't been further large quakes. So it is kind of suspicious, and Mike kind of goes into some of that, a little bit of that, in this broadcast. So I would recommend that. This is something that we'll link to in the Substack post, but it's just called Magnitude 7.3 Earthquake off the coast of California. Was it actually a warning? Was it a detonation warning from Putin? So I don't know. I can't really confirm or deny that, but I do think he makes a pretty interesting point that it could be that. So yeah, they do have the Poseidon nuclear torpedo type situation. So, and then other people were reporting on down the California coast that there were some increases in radioactivity. So I don't know. Very, very suspicious. Anyway, there's some pretty interesting links over here on naturalnews.com. Hours after the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was murdered, left-wing muckraker, I would say lunatic, Taylor Lorenz commented that, quote, "We want these executives dead," end quote. She was literally calling for the deaths of more healthcare executives. Now, why can she get away with that and not be instantly raided by the FBI or whoever, intelligence agencies? And, if anyone else would say that, then obviously they would be raided. But nope, it's okay if she does it. So anyway. And then here you can see a close-up of the world's worst weapon here, according to Bill Gates. Climate change virus has already infected millions. Now the sheep will wonder, will the climate vaccine save mankind from certain doom? Anyway, there's some interesting articles on naturalnews.com, and this one I thought was kind of interesting. I'll mention that Mike also mentioned this article in a very recent broadcast as well. I don't think it was the same one with the earthquake, or maybe it was. Anyway, talks about the Texas judge who blocks the unconstitutional Corporate Transparency Act that would have required all small businesses to hand over their private ownership and financial details to the government. And I mentioned this months ago when I first heard about it, because this is something that if you own a small business that, you know, you were going to be required to do at the end of this year. Well, according to this, and you could look into it further, this Corporate Transparency Act, which is talking about the, what was it called? The 2021 law had been facing scrutiny from several consumer groups for several years, but these concerns gained steam in recent months as the deadline for all businesses registered or created prior to January 1st, 2024 to file their initial report with FinCEN. You guys remember FinCEN? FINCEN. Expected more than 32 million reports to be filed this year. And the deadline is the end of this month, December 31st. And according to what Mike was saying, and according to this article, a Texas federal judge has issued a preliminary block on all of this, which would require all American businesses to report information about their stakeholders to the Treasury Department, invalidating it with less than a month of its reporting deadline. So he's saying that this whole thing has sort of been put on hold. So this is something that you could definitely investigate further. I think it's good news. Hopefully that this will be the way it actually happens, the way it actually rolls out, because this is serious government intrusion here into our lives. And it didn't have to do with large companies. It only had to do with small mom and pop type companies. If you made X amount of dollars over the years, or, as far as had so many employees, you were exempt and so forth. So it was really geared toward the really small businesses, like people like me, and probably many of you guys as well. But if you had a large business, you were exempt from all of this nonsense. So this apparently has been blocked. So that's good news, if it's indeed true. But I haven't seen this anywhere except for Natural News. I just found out about this earlier today. So you guys can help me investigate that a little further if you guys are interested. But yeah, the whole thing with FinCEN is bad news for sure. Government overreach for sure. Not good. Okay, let's see. Winepress News, Lord of Glory, the detailed guide to who God is. The detailed guide of who God is, available now. So that is a Winepress article. Let's see what else we have. Capital of Estonia commits to 15-minute city principles for 2025. Capital of Estonia. So governments over in the Eastern Bloc, sounds like, falling to the globalists, which is what we were talking about with Romania as well, over in that same area. Let's see. Australia's largest bank considers $3 fee to withdraw cash, but backs off after fierce criticism. Yeah, $3 fee to withdraw your cash. Weird. People complain about the strangest things, and bank fees are certainly one of those. Report, evidence suggests that FDR let Pearl Harbor happen to force America into World War II. And of course, yesterday was Pearl Harbor Day, a date that will live in infamy, as was stated. 83 years ago yesterday, America was brought into war with what was described then and has been described consistently since as a sneak attack by Imperial Japan. Then President Roosevelt gave a speech on December 8th before Congress where he described it as a day of infamy, where America was suddenly and deliberately attacked. But what Roosevelt failed to mention is that he knew the attack was going to happen. The government had received copious warnings about what was going to happen, and those warnings were not only ignored, but steps were taken to facilitate the Japanese attack. A series of events and factual matters strongly suggest that Roosevelt not only wanted war, but employed his top officials to help him in that effort. You mean an American president wanted American troops to be killed and take us to war? Shocker. Yeah. So that is the truth. And I'd heard that years ago at this point. Says the Chief of Naval Operations wrote the 8 action points memo on October 7th, 1940 to try to get Japan to attack the United States first. You can read the entire important McCollum memo about baiting Japan here. So there is a link to a wikisource.org link where that memo is. It was originally uncovered by historian Robert Stennett and published in his 1999 book, Day of Deceit. So here is the key section, and it's underlined here. This is from this Day of Deceit book, but more importantly, it's part of the memo that was found, and it's item number 10 here. This is what's underlined. If by these means Japan could be led to commit an overt act of war, so much the better. So there you go. And then thousands of Americans were killed in Pearl Harbor, and then that led us straight into World War II. So further information, further letters that were found as well that have to do with the whole Pearl Harbor thing and Japan and how it was all engineered to happen. Imagine that. So, pretty good article there. That's on Gateway Pundit. And let's see here. I thought this one was kind of funny. Going viral, Jill Biden caught looking at Trump a certain type of way at the Notre Dame reopening. Trump jumps in with a perfect troll comment. So you can see how she's kind of looking at him here. Dr. Jill traveled to Paris to attend Notre Dame's opening after it was damaged by a devastating fire in 2019 because Feeble Joe didn't want to get upstaged by Trump. Dr. Jill was photographed looking at Trump a certain type of way, and the tweet said, "Find someone who looks at you like Joe Biden looks at President Trump." Thought that was pretty funny. So there you go. But here's his troll on that. So what he did was he tweeted this on his X account, I guess. Here are my new Trump perfumes and colognes. I call them Fight, Fight, Fight because they represent us winning. Great Christmas gifts for the family. Go to gettrumpfragrances.com. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And then below where she's looking at him, it says, a fragrance your enemies can't resist. That is classic. Funny stuff. So apparently Jill likes it. I don't know if he's wearing the cologne then, but pretty wild. At least he turned it into a positive. But don't celebrate yet. Remember, Trump flies on a Boeing. So little cause for concern there. Okay, and then this article, your smartphone is now the battleground as China seeks cyber dominance. I thought this was going to be kind of about the whole TikTok thing and using Chinese apps on your phone, which, you know, if you ask me, that's certainly part of it, but that's not what this article's talking about at all. And I thought the picture was kind of funny because it almost looks like looks like Trudeau's dad, Castro, in the picture. Is pretty funny. We already knew that a weaponized deep state blob was jumping over the constitutional guardrails to monitor Americans, whether it was the State Department's Global Engagement Center or Big Finance giddily handing over MAGA customer information without a court order. The deep state is waded through Americans' smartphones and social media at will to categorize, target, and silence Americans. This behavior is shameful, and after January 20th, hopefully investigations will be announced for at least the worst of the deep state offenders. Yeah, well, don't hold your breath on that, but that would be nice, but we'll see. We shall see. We're holding out hope that does happen, but obviously hopium is very addictive. So anyway, so this is more about, using our information against us. So Pretty wild. But there's no mention of TikTok here, but that's certainly one way they can get it is through those types of backdoor situations with apps on your phone and so forth. So you never know what you're agreeing to. I thought this was weird. This is more that has to do with the United Healthcare CEO's shooter. It says NYPD finds monopoly money in the backpack of the shooter. He left the backpack at Central Park. Now, first of all, how would they even know that it was his? I don't really totally get that. But it says NYPD officers discovered stacks of monopoly money in the backpack of the suspect accused of shooting the CEO of United Healthcare. The New York Police Department discovered a backpack in Central Park and believed it belonged to the suspect in the shooting of Brian Thompson. Now, why would they think that? Do they have cameras that show him dropping it off or something? Now, authorities have revealed the contents inside the backpack. According to NYPD, a Tommy Hilfiger jacket and Monopoly money were found inside the suspect's backpack. So that is weird. Monopoly money discovered in the backpack found in Central Park, believed to be the person who executed the CEO, Brian Thompson. No identification of the suspect has been made. However, officials say they are getting closer. So, very, very strange. So the mystery becomes even more mysterious. Yeah, Monopoly money in the backpack. Really weird. Donald Trump's controversial Surgeon General nominee, Janet Nishawat, linked to accidental tragic shooting of her father at age 13. I'm like, whoa, that is weird. President-elect Trump's nominee for Surgeon General, Nishawat, was linked in a tragic accident at the age of 13 that resulted in her father's death. Did you guys know about this? I think this is really strange. It's getting weirder. Nishawat is a fierce advocate and strong communicator for preventative medicine and public health. She also really loves let's see. Nishawat has become a prominent figure in medicine, serving as medical director for City MD and contributing to Fox News. Her nomination has sparked discussions for her strong endorsement of the and masking protocols and her praise of social media platforms censoring skeptics like me and you during the height of the that never existed. I'm just adding that. But, yeah. And then I was looking to see what happened with her father. At just 13 years old, Nishawat accidentally shot and killed her father in their Orlando home. Okay. So we're going to be in store for the same treatment, I guess. The 1990 incident described in the police report was ruled an accidental shooting. It says the report, young Nishawat was searching for scissors in her father's bedroom when she accidentally tipped over a fishing tackle box, causing a loaded .38 caliber handgun to discharge. So it was the tackle box's fault. I get it. The bullet struck her sleeping father in the head. Wow. Man, how crazy is that? Did you guys know about that story? So there's Trump's Surgeon General nominee. She's a murderer. No, not really. Probably not really, but how tragic. That is wild. Okay, Truth in Media. I'll let you guys play this video if you guys want to. It's probably not very long. I think it's just a few minutes. Biden weighs preemptive pardons for Fauci, Schiff, and Cheney. But for what? Yeah, it's not like they've broken the law or anything or murdered millions of people or any of that. So that's on Truth in Media. Again, another video article there. And then activistpost.com. Some of the headlines show for human digitization. Yep, they're all about that. Preparing for the unexpected, the bug out bag. You guys have a bug out bag? I do have one, actually. But if you don't have one, you probably should. In case you need to hightail it out of there. IRS expands its armed wing to highest level in nearly a decade. Yeah, because after all, Trump's coming in, right? And then Syria article, and then let's see what else. Global food prices hit 19-month high just in time for the holidays. Yep. What else? Three horrifying consequences of AI that you might not have thought about. Well, there are plenty of them, that's for sure. Dark Brandon pardons his son. Yeah, anyway. And then you can't hide, Musk and SpaceX are helping U.S. intelligence build the world's largest spy satellite network. Yeah, so that's some of the headlines on Activist Post. A couple of Not the Bee articles. I thought this one was kind of silly. Tim Walz says he and Kamala lost because Americans didn't want a, quote, more positive message. Yeah, I guess he actually believes that.
I think we're going to have to understand what type of leadership do they want. We were pledging to be inclusive. We were pledging to bring people in. Donald Trump has said that isn't what he wants. And so if that's what America's leaning towards, I guess for me, it's to understand and learn more about America, because I thought that they were going to probably move towards a more positive message.
A more positive message, like how to take care of your horse and what not to do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's probably best that you don't. I like this cartoon. Am I out of touch? No, it's the American people who are wrong and bad. No more DEI in government, please. That is what Americans rejected. So that's on Not to Be. And then this one too. Let's talk about something important that everyone missed in Joe Biden's pardon. Fresh off the Thanksgiving turkey, the political world is abuzz with chatter about Biden pardoning his son. There's an awful lot of noticing happening and different tweets about different aspects of the pardon. But here's where they're going with this. What people are out here marveling at are the fact that Joe Biden is gonna Joe Biden. I'm out here noticing something completely different in his official pardon. Look way down here at the bottom of the document. It says, in testimony whereof I have hereunto signed my name that caused the pardon to be recorded with the Department of Justice. And then after that it says, done at the city of Washington, this first day of December, in the year of our Lord, 2024, and of the independence of the United States, the 249th. Did you catch it? I'll help you. December in the year of our Lord, 2024. You'll notice that the official presidential pardon ends with this strange language that marks the passage of time with two specific moments in world history. First, this year of the unknown, quote, Lord, 2024 years ago. And second, the writing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Which Lord is this referring to? This clause has been added to presidential pardons since the early days of the Republic. Here's one from Trump in 2017. And you can see it's got the year of our Lord 2017 in there. And here's one from Thomas Jefferson in 1801. You can see it says the year of our Lord 1801. I've been told that America is a secular country founded upon the presupposition of a state devoid of any semblance of church or religion. I've been told that the founders were not trying to implement a government founded upon any particular belief system or beholden to a particular deity, and since said fathers were diametrically opposed to the monarchy, I have to wonder which, quote, Lord Joe Biden is referring to when shielding him and his son from their many, many crimes. Certainly not Jesus Christ, right? The U.S. Constitution doesn't mention Christianity or any specific religion. The Declaration of Independence famously proclaims that people's rights come from a, quote, creator and, quote, nature's God, but doesn't specify who that is. And then here's some articles where it's talking about, is America a Christian nation now? America is not a Christian nation, never has been. These are some of the headlines. HuffPo says, Founding Fathers, we are not a Christian nation. And yet, for all the revisionist history, the but actuallys, the, quote, Jefferson wasn't a Christian arguments, there it is, right at the bottom, the most self-serving, corrupt pardon in American history. Despite all the attempts to erase the obvious, there are still vestiges of what the regular American knew as fact up until our progressive modern age. This cartoon's pretty funny. Got the goose here saying, when you say BCE and BC, what event happened to make it the current era? And then the goose is yelling even more here. What event happened to make it the current era? That would be the birth of Jesus. So you have before Christ, BC, or you have before the Common Era, which still points back to Jesus Christ, starting the Common Era. So the goose has it right. Anyway, that's probably enough on that. But still, you can see here where we're going with this. And it says, despite what revisionists say, it's right there at the bottom of Joe Biden's corrupt pardon, a testimony that Jesus Christ is Lord. Amen and amen. Thought you guys would like that. That's on notthebee.com. Pretty cool. And then, let's see here. Israel 365 News, the fall of Assad, corruption, human rights violations, and the ramifications for Israel. Well, it means more land for the greater Israel, so of course, they love it. They're all about it. And notice how they're saying that Assad is corrupt and committing human rights violations, not Israel. They're not doing it. No, not at all. And then, of course, they're talking about Isaiah 17:1, the Damascus pronouncement. Behold, Damascus will cease to be a city and will become a heap of ruins, which I fully believe we are on the path to seeing that happen, unfortunately. But that's the only thing in this entire article, if you ask me, that has any importance and meaning. Because the rest of it is just going to be from Israel's tainted description of how they describe not only Syria, but Assad as well. So don't buy it. Don't buy it. More on that in just a second. And then another one that Israel 365 News and the Israelis are really cheering about, I would think. Second year in a row, no Christmas in Bethlehem. No Christmas in Bethlehem. So it says for the second year in a row, Bethlehem municipality announced that there will be no visible Christmas celebrations this month. Once again, there are no plans to create a traditional Christmas tree. Shops remain closed and tourism is sparse. But the Israelis, apparently, at least the ones that care about such things, probably really love this. Anyway, yeah. The picture here that they're showing says Palestinians watched the lighting of the Christmas tree at Manger Square outside the Church of the Nativity in West Bank, town of Bethlehem, December 4th, 2021. So that was a picture from 3 years ago. And for the last 2 years, they've had no celebrating of Christmas in Bethlehem. So there you go. I did not know that, but I do find it interesting and not surprising at all. And then what else we have here? Modernity.news. AP eviscerated for declaring that the Biden legacy is teetering. I think it's always been teetering, hasn't it? It teetered off the edge and into oblivion a long time ago. Yep, exactly. The Associated Press has been roasted online for publishing an article that states the Joe Biden legacy is teetering following his pardoning of his son. And it wasn't teetering before, I guess. Americans pointed out that the Biden legacy was set in stone a long time ago. Yep. From day one. Yeah, his legacy isn't teetering. It's been obliterated. History will not look fondly. It teetered long ago. AP redefines teetering. And there it is. The Hindenburg. Yeah. Anyway, just like the Titanic teetered on its maiden voyage. Yep, I would say it's pretty much sinking. I thought this one was weird. This one will be from someone that you have heard of. It says, renowned movie director apologizes for making one of the greatest films in history. I'm embarrassed and I apologize to everyone. Well, it's maybe not what you think, but here's what they're talking about. Francis Ford Coppola, one of the world's premier movie directors, has apologized for making what many consider to be one of the greatest films ever. Coppola told the Washington Post that, quote, I'm the jerk that started numbers on movies. He was referring to movie sequels, in particular 1974's The Godfather Part 2. I'm embarrassed and I apologize to everyone, Coppola declared. And then says, true, there are hundreds of pointless movie sequels now, betraying just how creativity and how creatively stagnant and unwilling to take risks modern Hollywood production studios are. But come on, Godfather 2 doesn't fall into that category. I don't know if I've even seen Godfather 2. I probably have, but I don't remember. I've seen the first one. But now there is one sequel that he should apologize for. He should apologize for The Godfather 3. It was a bridge too far. So anyway. And then the funny thing here says, just imagine what's coming down the pipeline. Godfather 4, they'll make part 4 with a gay black woman as the head of the family. Yeah. So there you go. So get ready for Godfather 4 with the gay black woman. They might try it. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised at all. All right. VaccineImpact.com. Some of the headlines here. Let's see. UFOs in D.C. Understanding UFOs, military, interstellar, and interdimensional insights. So lots of people still talking about UFOs and UAPs and all that. Lots of articles about that lately, it seems like. Trump's huge border control business is U.S. national policy, exposing border myths and Trump lies. So this, the writers on Vaccine Impact are not necessarily pro-Trump, but you can see that. But, you know, they do have a good perspective on things. I think it certainly doesn't hurt to take a look. Trump and 50 heads of state are attending reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral and the satanic celebrations in Paris. So that's probably true. And then Australian digital IDs here. Australia passes age verification bill to keep children under 16 off of social media. Backdoor to digital ID requirements for everyone. Even the kangaroos are not exempt. You can see one holding his phone right here. Age verification equals backdoor digital IDs for everyone. Yep, that's why they want to do it. It's to protect the kids and to give the globalists full access to all of the information and to keep everyone else off of the internet until you prove who you are. Yeah, that's where it's headed. Why did Putin say Trump is not safe? NATO at the brink of all-out war with Russia. And then the rest of these articles are ones I mentioned last time. So, Vaccine Impact articles. And then what else? GeoWatch for this week. Winter weather warnings. GeoWatch for December 7th. Winter weather warnings for 13 states. Are geoengineering operations a part of this equation? No amount of research or small-scale testing can ever demonstrate what would happen if these dangerous technologies, geoengineering, were unleashed on a planetary scale. A quote from the Center for International Environmental Law. Too late. The damage that has already been done can't be undone in any time frame that matters. The CIEL, which is the Center for International Environmental Law, organization continues with this statement. There is nothing in the history of humanity to suggest that we could fairly and responsibly govern an undertaking like geoengineering that would need to be sustained over hundreds of years. That was a quote. Question: does the suggestion of such a time frame have any relevance when the collapse of industrialized, militarized civilization is already unfolding by the day? And then Global Alert News is here on this page. Yeah, and the interesting thing is, it might not have been going on for hundreds of years, but it's certainly been going on for decades, as we all know. They've been geoengineering for a long time. Ramped up really, really powerfully in the 90s, but it's been going on for many decades. Goes way back. And then the scheduled weather coming up for the next, let's see here, December 14th through the 18th. Look, it's going to be very warm. Above normal in the southern parts of the U.S. and then, well, pretty much above normal everywhere, and then way above normal in the southern areas like Texas and New Mexico and Oklahoma and so forth. So, yep, pretty warm. So get ready for a warm-up, which means that they will pump some moisture up from the Gulf as soon as possible and then cool down the eastern half of the U.S. after this. So I'm guessing we'll take a look next week when we look at this map again. And the next group of dates would be probably from the 19th to like the 25th or something like that. And they're going to cool down the eastern half of the U.S. just in time for Christmas. You watch. I will bet you anything. So anyway, let's take a look and see what happens. Just a little guess on my part. All right, and then a couple of short video clips I wanted to play. I posted this in our band group, and Miss Emily posted a link for the band group in chat in both the Rumble chat as well as YouTube. So if you guys are interested in joining that, it's totally free. Just a group of folks in there, including myself, just sharing information is all it is. And I found this video, thought it was kind of interesting. You know, around here, at least in this show, we think that King Charles III is going to be the biblical Antichrist. And some would say that he might also be the Muslim Mahdi, and that he actually did convert to Islam some time ago. And there are pictures of him wearing the garb and everything when he was Prince Charles. So I thought this was a little bit interesting. He is hosting the Emir of Qatar, some people say Qatar, at this state banquet. So listen to this. You'll hear Charles say a few things you may not have ever heard him say.
In many ways, this evening might be seen as a homecoming. Your Highness is no stranger to these shores, having spent so many of your younger years here at three of our most renowned institutions, Sherborne, Harrow, and the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. Your many visits since then have served as a testament to the close personal ties that bind our nations and our families. This evening I am delighted to mark the renewal of our enduring friendship. Hayakum maratan ukhra fi al-Memlaka al-Muthida baladkum al-Thani. I would like to propose a toast.
So what do you think about that? He's speaking Arabic to this guy. I mean, he struggled through it a little. I mean, I could tell he wasn't perhaps as fluent as one might think, but he did pull it off. Pretty weird. And I would say not unimportant. I mean, what if he really is going to be the Muslim Mahdi? What if he's also going to be their savior, just like he'll be the biblical Antichrist and the, well, theoretically anyway, could be that. Could also be the Israeli Moshiach, maybe? I don't know. I'm still keeping an eye on our other friend that we've made videos about over the years on the Diamond Report and End Times Dates in particular, as far as the Israeli Moshiach. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is, I think, something worth mentioning just because I thought that was pretty wild. I've never seen Charles speaking Arabic before. Pretty weird. And then I thought this was pretty funny too. I'll just play this and just talk over it because this is the heartwarming 2024 Christmas card from who? Well, Charles and Camilla, and get a load of this Christmas card. This is like, I mean, could a 5-year-old have done a better job than this? Seriously? It just says, wishing you a very happy Christmas and New Year, and a picture with a red box around it. So there's not a picture of his demonic portrait that he had done. That's good. But it just says, wishing you a very happy Christmas and New Year. That's the Christmas card. I mean, that is about as pitiful as it gets. I wonder how many millions and millions of dollars the British population paid to do this card. Wow. I mean, that is bad. That is really bad. I just thought it was funny. I just thought I would mention that to you guys. Total craziness. All right. So we're talking about Syria a lot tonight, and this is someone that I've followed on, well, not really on X all that long, but I've followed her interviews and things every now and then. She's been on various shows. She goes by Syrian Girl on X, and she has a really good perspective on what's happening in Syria, and I think that if you guys want a good perspective on things, that I believe is, I think she's really right about most of the stuff she talks about. You can follow along with, she goes by Syrian Girl, which you could do a search for that, but her X account is Partisan Girl. I don't know why, but Partisan Girl, but it's Syrian Girl. So, I don't know, figure that one out. Anyway, she's talking about how the Israelis are basically invading here. And that, it's not as people are being led to believe. Syrian Girl posted 4 hours ago, it's more than just the Golan now. The government stopped Israel from invading more land for 50 years. You pieces of traitorous filth gave them more land while you were celebrating and said the Israel invasion wasn't a, quote, priority. So that's just one example there. But did you guys know about Mount Hermon, right? Mount Hermon or Mount Hermon, where the fallen ones ascended and descended from, and then where Jesus ascended from as well? Mount Hermon is now in the possession of Israel. It wasn't before, it was part of Syria, now it is. Syrian army defending Mount Hermon, or Hermon, which the revolution have given to Israel without a single shot fired. Back when Syria had a state and an army, they stopped the Zionist invasion for 50 years. Yet we were accused of not doing enough. So there it is, Mount Hermon or Mount Hermon, however you say it. And now it is taken over by the Israelis. And then here's another retweet actually, that she posted. This is not Gaza. This is not Beirut. This is Damascus. Israel is bombing Syria's capital, one of the oldest cities in human history, standing for over 11,000 years, with some of its heaviest bombardments ever. So you can see all these piles of cars here. And guess who? Netanyahu says this is a historic day for the Middle East, the collapse of the Assad regime, and his is not a regime, I guess. The tyranny in Damascus offers great opportunity, but also is fraught with significant dangers. Being caught by the Israelis and being bombed to death. But anyway, it says, notice in Netanyahu's speech, he singles out each Syrian religion in what he might be useful to him. The Druze and the Kurds are listed because he wants to carve out a Druze state and a Kurd state in Syria as per the Yenon plan. They aim to take Syrian land all the way up to Swede, S-W-E-D-E. So I don't know how far that is into it, but yeah, it's part of the Greater Israel plan, like I mentioned earlier. Anyway, feel free to have a look at her X account. It's Partisan Girl, I guess, but it's Syrian Girl overall. I don't know. Maybe she changed her name on there. Analyst, scientist, journalist. Anyway, she does good work. And then here is my Diamond Report on X as well. I found some funny memes earlier today and posted a couple of them. It's ironic that the angriest people on television are named Whoopi, Sunny, and Joy. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, it is a little ironic. And I mentioned him earlier as well, Peter Hotez. Anytime I hear the mainstream media talk about experts, this is how I imagine them looking. Yeah, he does kind of look like Beaker, and I stated that in here clearly at Peter Hotez Impersonators. This one as well, the Schwabstica is what people are calling this, as in Klaus Schwab. And you've seen that rainbow circle thing on various things, including King Charles wearing one as well. I would say that it's, you could call it a Schwabstica, but it's probably really more of a King Charles emblem than anybody because he's above all of that stuff. But yeah, Jones here is saying the swastika is a sun symbol. The WEF's symbol is a swastika. The World Economic Forum is a global death cult, and once you dead. Yeah. But again, who's head of all of that stuff? It's King Charles, not Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab is simply one of the minions, one of the little guys, one of the knights, one of the whatevers, just like Bill Gates is. And this is a pretty funny video that was retweeted here. Trump trying to get some billions back from Zelensky that Biden sent to him. So you can see what Trump's doing to him. Pretty funny. We live in a time when intelligent people are being silenced so that stupid people won't be offended. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Klaus Schwab is a knight of Charles. Yep, that's right. And I'll leave you with this one. I too was once a man trapped in a woman's body, and then I was born. That is classic. So there's some funny ones here. Some good ones. Yeah, and then I put the Diamond Report back on my Twitter account as well, so it's one place you can go watch it there. It's not live there, but it is an upload. Usually on Tuesdays when I put the show up on YouTube, I put it on Twitter as well, so watch for that. Feel free to follow along the Diamond Report on Twitter, and please support what I'm doing. Again, I've got the Diamond Report on Substack, so you can sign up for free there if you guys want to be on the list to get the good old links that I send out. So yeah, that'll be on Tuesday. Tomorrow I will send out the audio podcast version of this show, and it will also be posted on the various different platforms like Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon, and I'll post links to it in Band. If you guys are in the Band group, I'll post links to it on all the other platforms that I'm on, like Facebook and so forth as well. So feel free to join along there. Feel free to keep up with what I'm doing. And then the YouTube channel, obviously, that channel will get the final version of the show on Tuesday, not on Monday like the other channels. It goes up on Tuesday on YouTube because I have to do an edited version, a cut down version of the show where I'm removing all the medical misinformation, as you guys know, because I can't put all the information about not taking the Therofosensvajdiva on YouTube. Otherwise, they will delete my channel, which they have done before. I've had to start over more than once, and it's not fun. So thank you, but no. And then the store. Feel free to have a look at the store if you want to support what I'm doing. I'm sporting a conspiracy analyst. Here it is. Conspiracy analyst, the Diamond Report hoodie right here. So yeah, it's I don't know which one it is. It's I think I'm wearing the navy one, which isn't actually shown here. But if you go into any of these pages here, let me click on one and let it load. You can see kind of what it looks like. There's the back. It's got the Diamond Report logo on the back and on the arm. And then you can see the ties, and it's available in various colors. Like this one is a green one. The one I'm wearing, though, is a navy blue one. There's kind of a charcoal and a black and, different colors. So you can see how it says conspiracy. Here, this is the one that I have on, actually. It's this color. Conspiracy analyst, the Diamond Report. The Diamond Report. That's the... if you type that in, you go straight to my Rumble channel. That's where that goes. But anyway, that's kind of what it looks like. And, yeah, it's $50 for a hoodie. I know that's a little high, but every little bit helps. And that money, I only get a small fraction of that. Most of that goes directly to the folks that are fulfilling the orders. So anyways, that's one way to support the show, and I do get a little bit back from that, but that, these products don't exist until you order something. So once you order something, then it goes into the mechanism that fulfills the orders, and they print the shirt or the hat or whatever, and then they ship it to you. It doesn't come through me. I don't have a stock of all these different products sitting in my garage or something. These products are printed professionally and then shipped directly to you. And the quality of them are really good, really good. So, good stuff. So anyway, they have the logo on the arm and then on the back as well, right here, underneath the hood. So, pretty cool. I think it turned out pretty good. This is just a hoodie, but there are multiple other different items there. So feel free to take a look at that, and different t-shirts and hats and things. And then please subscribe on Subscribestar if you don't mind. That really helps me out as well. For as little as $5 a month, you can help support what I'm doing and help keep this show on the air. Notice that there were no commercials tonight. There were 0 commercials. The only time you ever see a commercial is if you happen to be watching on Rumble. They will drop commercials in and ads, and I have no control over that. I have no say in any of that. I think the only way around that is if you are maybe a paid subscriber on Rumble. I don't even know. But I do use Rumble myself for various things, and I think that they are worth supporting as well. So feel free to do that if you guys are interested. But yeah, the Subscribestar page here is the newest way to support what I'm doing, and the link is in the upper right corner up there in the black box, subscribestar.com/Diamond Disc. And that is the name that I've used on most of these channels, not on YouTube. That was my YouTube channel, but that one's the one that got deleted. But I'm Diamond Disc on most of these others. So it's spelled like that, DIAMONDISC. So it's the word diamond with an ISC at the end. And that is my music company. So that's what that's about. Anyways, I guess that's all I had for you guys tonight, as far as I can tell. I think that was the last of the articles and everything I wanted to mention to you all. So it is, 12:46 a.m. here. It's kind of getting late. So yes, blessings to everyone. Hope you guys have a really great week this week. And hopefully we'll stay out of World War III, but it's not looking too good, is it? So praise the Lord. Praise Jesus. We are here for yet another week. And we pray that we're here yet this coming week. And I just pray that everything goes well for you guys, and so far so good in the holiday season, the crazy Christmas season that we're in. And we'll see how it all pans out. It's not looking too good right now as far as war goes, but other things are looking a little bit better. But depending on what happens with the war, I think that really is going to dictate what our futures are going to be like. Unfortunately, as I put this out before, I think this is kind of what we're in for, as far as some of the different possibilities and the events that could be unfolding in front of us. So we'll take a look at this a little closer next week. I won't bother going into that tonight, but many of you guys have seen this already. I call it my end times events timeline. That's not really based on dates at all. It's just based on events, how things could unfold. So I've got these things. I put this document together about, a couple years ago at this point, and haven't really changed much at all. It's strictly just how I'm sort of guessing that things are going to unfold. And notice, Damascus in Syria is on here. And I do think that we are going to see something unfold with that. So World War III, Ukraine and Russia and Damascus and Syria and Israel and all that stuff's on here. So we'll go through that a little bit later if you all want to. But I would love to be wrong. But unfortunately, I'm figuring it's going to be more correct than wrong. So anyway, blessings, you guys. Hope you have a really great week. And again, we'll do it next week. And we're talking about what is that, the 15th? December the 15th. At 10 p.m. Central Time. I will see you guys then. Love you all and blessings. We'll talk to you again real soon.